Welcome, everyone. I'm Lisa Bodwin, Executive Director of the New Hampshire Council of Churches. This is the second installment of Church Insights, Divine and Shine, a very short video series of the New Hampshire Council of Churches meant to build fellowship amongst our members. Today's video is with Pastor John Hopkins, who serves at Concordia Lutheran Church in Concord. I'm just going to very quickly jump into our questions. Welcome, Pastor John.
Good to see you. Welcome. Thank you for having me.
Please tell us how you shine God's inclusive love in your ministry.
I think for Lutheran Christians in particular, this might be true of other Christians, of course, but we emphasize two things that seem contradictory, but we hold in tension. One is that we are sinners. All of us, regardless of who we are broken people who have peculiarities, whatever you want to call it, but all of us fall short of the glory of God. So I think that's an inclusive message because it's not somebody else's sin is greater than my sin. We all share the same amount. So that's number one. And then I think the second thing is that we're all made as gifted and wonderful people of God. So we have gifts to offer and share, and every person, regardless of their economic background, their race, their gender identity, their sexual orientation, whatever, has something to offer, and those gifts should be lifted up. And that's internal, I would say. And externally, our church works very hard on being inclusive of people who are specifically historically marginalized in our society. Immigrants, LGBTQ plus, are people who are experiencing homelessness. Those are kind of the three areas that we tend to focus on, working on being as inclusive as possible. And hopefully our worship service is as inclusive as possible. We have a completely open table where we just say anybody who wants to come up and receive, please do, regardless of what if you're another denomination. I've had people who are not Christian come up for communion. I've had people in our congregation who don't believe or whatever. So we are inclusive in that way. Actually, I was having these new members who might join, and they said, and we were going over the communion thing, and they said that is a little bit too open. And I said, yes, that's the point of it. Yes, that's why we do it. Yes. That's
great. That's a wonderful tension to have. And I'm sure it yields fruit for you,
yes.
and for all Lutherans. So next question, please tell us about a moment when you publicly witnessed for or saw an incredibly inspiring moment in public witness to God's love.
Well, I see it a lot, actually, at the State House. One of the reasons why I like to be a pastor in Concord, New Hampshire, is because I get to go to the State House and talk about things with elected officials that I think are important for Christians to be out front about. But I will say for sure one of the great glory days was when we repealed the death penalty in New Hampshire. And I have to say, there was some people in our state who are working on that a very, very long time, 20 years plus maybe. And I was just happy to play whatever small little part I could in that process, testifying, and showing up again at the State House. So, but that was a really glorious day. That was a really happy day, and it showed that things can change when we work together. And for me, it takes time. That we have to be persistent. We have to show up over and over and over again. That it's not just a one-time thing. And I just want to say this: I'm willing to bet that sometime in the future, either near or far, someone will get elected who will say, "Hey, you want to know, we should bring the death penalty back," and so we'll have to show up again for that very same issue. So, progress is slow and sometimes retreats. But anyway, that was a very happy day. That was a very happy day.
Persistence in public witnessing with our faith is a marathon.
It's a marathon.
Completely a marathon. It is never a sprint. And just in the same way that God's love persists through time and space, if we serve with our public witness as well,
Yeah.
Over
I would just go,
time, we'll get there.
yeah. And I would just say too, like, again, going back to the sinful thing for me, it's never going to be done. The work will never be done because as long as human beings are in charge of things, we will mess it up somehow. So,
Yeah, I agree. So we're going to round out our Divine and Shine with a fun and lighthearted question. Tell us about your funniest moment in the pulpit, please, Pastor John.
this is not a pulpit moment, but I don't think I have a funny pulpit moment per se. Um, but I had a kid who was finished confirmation. And I should back up and say I was a pastor in Long Island in New York at the time. Uh, and he was a Yankee fan. And so for his confirmation, as a present to me, he gave me a Yankee shirt. And I said, listen, I really appreciate the thought, but I can never wear this shirt. I just can never wear. I'm a Red Sox fan. So I said, I just can never wear the shirt. But I'll tell you what, if you come to church regularly, like once a month or whatever, I forget how we agreed what regularly looked like, but I will wear the shirt next year on this Sunday, the same Sunday. And sure enough, he was good to his word. He showed up. And so under my robe, I had the shirt that he had, the Yankee shirt, and it was part of my sermon that day about I made a joke of it coming together, and I took it off, and I had the Yankee shirt, and people in the congregation all applauded and laughed and had a good time at that. So I guess that was in the pulpit. Now that I think about it,
it was in the pulpit, and what a beautiful way to weave together fun. Encouraging youth participation in a way that really appeals to where they're at, and then pulling it all together. That's a great story. Thank you for sharing that one. All right, so I promise these things are quick to both our viewers and our shining clergy. Thank you, Pastor John, for helping the council in this quick, creative way to learn a bit about each other and our work building beloved community. I hope all have a blessed day. And again, thank you, Pastor John.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Really fun.